The time is now 6:02, and I am calling this meeting to order. I'd like to remind board members to make sure your cameras are on when voting and make sure you're unmuted. The chair is seeking an adoption of the agenda, but has also received requests for agenda items to be moved out of consent. I believe that's Mr. McGee.
Yeah, the agenda items, I don't have them in front of me. I had emailed to you. I'd like to have those 3 items removed from. I'd like to move to have those removed from the consent agenda so we can have discussion on them.
Okay. And I believe those agenda items, as I'm pulling up, there's 4. It's 5.9, 5.10, 5.11, and 5.12. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Director McGee, we cannot see you on camera.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. All right. And so, Ms. Waterman, yes, ma'am.
President Watry, I would like to also add graduation to the discussion items as well.
Okay. So, Ms. Waterman.
Yes, sir.
Can you please add, take consent items 5.9, 5.10, 5.11, and 5.12, as well as the agenda item of the discussion of graduation to discussion items?
Yes, I will.
All right. Chair is seeking a motion for the adoption of the agenda.
I move that. I so move that we adopt the agenda.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? All right, we will call it to a vote.
I'm sorry, Mr. Watry.
Yes, ma'am.
That's someone moved the adoption of the agenda with the amendments?
Oh, yes, with the, was the motion that was made with the adoption of the amendments? Yes, ma'am. So if Ms. Kendrick, if you could.
Yes, if we can adopt the agenda with the amendments.
So the motion was made for the adoption of the agenda with amendments, with amendments stating. And Mr. McGee, would you agree with seconding that?
You need a second? Do you need a second?
Yes, yes, ma'am. We will need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay. And that is with Ms. Graves seconding. It's been moved in second. Is there any further discussion? All right, we will call to a vote. Ms. Waterman, can you take roll call as for a means of vote?
Absolutely. We will start with Director Watry.
Aye.
Director Townsend. Director Townsend.
You're muted, sir.
Thank you. Director McGee. Director McGee, you're muted.
Aye.
Thank you. Director Kendrick.
Aye.
Director Graves.
Aye.
Director Carter.
Aye.
And Director Brooks, I believe you said would be late.
Right.
We are 6 to 7.
6 to 7. Okay. Motion is carried. 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to item 3.0, which is our applause.
Good evening, directors.
Good evening.
Johnny, do you have the photo that we can put up, the first one? While he does that, the Ruskin girls soccer team took first place in the Winnetonka tournament on April 3rd. This is the first time the girls team has ever won a tournament, and we know this is just the first of many. Coach Megan Cadilla says this group of young ladies is the hardest working group of soccer athletes she has ever coached. They have so much fire in them to be better every day. They come back from not playing last year, has motivated them to play hard every single practice and game. She has seen so much improvement since the first day until now, and they keep on pushing and working. Congratulations, ladies. Unfortunately, they could not be here with us this evening because they are playing in a conference game right now. Their principal, Torrance Allen, is here, but before I turn it over to him for some brief remarks, we also want to recognize 5 Ruskin students, and Johnny, if you have that other picture to put up as well. 5 Ruskin students earned the prestigious Missouri Seal of Biliteracy. The Missouri Seal of Biliteracy is awarded by DESE to graduating high school students who have demonstrated achievement in English, a language other than English, and sociocultural competence. These students are preparing for a lifetime of success. We want to give kudos to their teacher, Leah LaFavor, for working so hard with these students. Congratulations to all. And you can see their pictures there. Congratulations and kudos to everyone. And I want to give their principal, Mr. Allen, a chance to talk and brag on his students.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Ms. Womble. I am extremely proud of our student athletes, as well as our students that achieved their biliteracy achievements. What I can tell you is that when I first started working here 6 years ago, the soccer team, the girls soccer team was just pretty bad. And to see the girls comes from so far down to have this much success is extremely exciting. The energy that they have in the building is contagious. And while we may not still be able to beat some extremely talented teams out there, we are competing in our conference, and our girls are demonstrating that they can be competitive, and they're still working hard each and every day to get better and better and better. As far as our students with our biliteracy achievement, it is a very proud principal moment because our kids are coming in sometimes deficient in those areas, and they are working extremely hard to improve, and they go out and they demonstrate it through their achievement. And so I'm extremely excited in the direction that our kids are moving. Ruskin High School, Ms. LaFavor is a great teacher. She connects very well with our students. And I would be remiss if I didn't give Mr. Yard some credit because he also works extremely hard with our ELL students as well. So thank you for allowing us the opportunity to brag about some of the great things that are taking place here at Ruskin High School.
Thank you, Mr. Allen, and that is it for applause.
Thank you. Ms. Womble, can I just, first of all, let me thank Mr. Allen and the staff and the team that have kind of shepherd these women. I wish we had them here. It's almost like Women's History Month. We've got all these women we have an opportunity to recognize. I'm hoping we can have a chance to congratulate them in a face-to-face way, Mr. Allen, at some point. I know they couldn't be here tonight because they're busy, but please send our kudos to them, and we will see them hopefully later on during the year in a face-to-face and recognize them at some point.
Hey, Mr. Allen, this is Director Townsend. I was there when you became a principal 6 years ago, and I've been to some of them soccer games, and not very good is kind of an understatement. So for them to get this far is really a tremendous accomplishment. So again, pass on the thanks for all that they've done, you know, all the hard work they've done, and showing that, you know, what the district, what kids in our district could do. But like I said, I went to the soccer games, the tennis matches, and, you know, some of them things we were superly overmatched. And just to see us finally be able to compete is a great thing.
Thank you.
All right. Bring us back to the agenda. Let's see. Going on to 4.1, we're going into audience comments. Public comments are open to any community member with a 2-minute limit. This agenda item has a total of 20 minutes, 20-minute limit prior to or per our board policy. there should be a list. If not, actually, I'll check in with Mrs. Waterman. Is there a list?
We actually have two.
All right. We have two on our list. And with is there any additional audience members who would like to make comment? Please state your name now before we start. Well, okay. Ms. Waterman, who's on our list?
First, we have Colonel Ivan Glasgow.
Colonel.
Good evening, everyone. 2 minutes. I'm going to try to do this. I have two things. I'm going to try to get it in.
Yes, sir.
The first thing is that thinking back to late February, early March, I saw the writing on the wall, so much to the tune of that I told my cadets that I would spread one of my paychecks amongst all the cadets if we came back from spring break. And unfortunately, but fortunately, we didn't. And I bring that up. Kansas City School District, co-worker, friends at the Shawnee and Blue Valley School Districts, former co-worker, Gunnery Sergeant Kapolzinski, had kids at Olathe, and my daughter works at Lee Summit. As we headed into this, and as now we make this turn out of this whole thing, I just wanted to go ahead and say I appreciate having been in the military and having done a lot of planning in my time and having had to execute a bunch of orders, obviously, operations. The planning from I'm sure of each building administration to the executive leadership team to the Board of Education, who had to make the decisions on the ready, and the superintendent who had to make the decisions. This is not a contest, but as I heard information, and also KCUR News, as I heard the reports coming out of those people I know from those districts, from my perspective, your teams, all of you I've just mentioned, spot on. And I know many times in the district and meetings, you get the negative thing, and I'm not much one on compliments, but I certainly believe that you all, and I appreciate it as not only an employee, but as a community member, because I live in this community. And I appreciate everything that you did. Was the plan perfect? No, no plan is. There's too many X factors. Was it executed perfectly? No, because no plan survives contact. But again, not a contest, but comparing, and everything I heard from them, you all, and thus we all, did fantastic, and I thank you. That's number one. Hopefully I have a couple of more minutes. One more minute.
About 30, 45 seconds, go.
Okay, then I will just say, Dr. Skinner, Dr. Smith, Dr. Clapmeyer, Ms. Wiltsey, Ms. Rowe, Ms. Cleaver-Womble, Mr. Weekly, and by extension, their staff. Thank you for all the support since I've been on deck since 1 February 2012, and I hope I continue to get it, and thus the cadets will get it in the next 4 years, 2 months, 14 days, 15 hours, and 29 minutes that I'm on deck. Have a great evening.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your kind comment.
Spoken like a true colonel. Thank you. Our next speaker would be Mr. Clifford Reagan.
Okay. Mr. Reagan. Mr. Reagan, are you here? Not seeing Mr. Reagan. All righty. Not seeing that there is no Mr. Reagan, we will go ahead and move on to our next agenda item, which is our consent items. The chair is seeking a motion for the adoption of the approval of these consent items.
Motion, I move that we approve the consent items as amended.
I second.
So moved and seconded. Okay, let's call it to a vote. Ms. Kendrick,
Aye.
Ms. Carter,
Aye.
Ms. Graves,
Aye.
Mr. McGee,
Aye.
Mr. Townsend,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Motion carries 6-0. Moving on to agenda item 6.0, which is new business.
Good evening, board. This is Katie Rowe, and I'll be sharing this item with you today on behalf of the executive leadership team and Mr. Obeng. The executive leadership team recommends a modification to the 2021-2022 district calendar to include a staggered start to the school year. The modification will include that school starts on Monday, August 23rd will be the first day of school for students who are in grades pre-K through 2nd, 6th grade, and then 9th grade. All other students in all other grades would then start school on Wednesday, August 25th. The last day of school for all students would then remain May the 27th, 2022. The discussion came about after we completed our staggered start to the COVID re-entry plan to yellow status, and we believe that the staggered start schedule will provide additional time for buildings to support our youngest learners. So those pre-K through 2nd grade students will have a couple of days by themselves in the building, as well as those students who are in our secondary transition grades, so 6th and 9th grade. The district has over the minimum attendance hours per DESE requirement, so there are no negative impacts and there's no cost involved as there are no adjustments necessary to the teachers' contracted days. Superintendent Obeng recommends the approval of the 21-22 district calendar change.
All right.
Your message to Alvin said.
So we're seeking a motion. The chair is seeking a motion.
I move that we, where is the wording? I'm sorry, I lost my.
Sorry. The approval of the action to the approval of the 21-22 district calendar adjustments.
I move that we accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the 2021-22 district calendar changes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? No, if there's no discussion, we'll call it to a vote. Ms. Graves,
Aye.
Mr. Townsend,
Aye.
Ms. Carter,
Aye.
Ms. Kendrick,
Aye.
Mr. McGee,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you, board.
Moving on to agenda item 7.0. Which is our
Thank you.
superintendent comment.
That's mine. I will, if Vitaly, if you give me the opportunity to share, I'll put up my screen. So, okie dokie, let me.
Superintendent Obeng, he does have access to it as well.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm just going to. All right, I got it. Okay. So this evening, I did want to make some comments. And my comments, I decided to put it documented on paper so people in the public can follow, and we'll also have it posted for further review. The about a month or maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago, I guess I presented the Towards the Future We Want in response to the entry plan and developing the strategic directive goals. And since then, we've taken some steps, some actions towards realizing that future and that promise around those actions, even during pandemic, and the staff have responded quite well. So I did want to just update the board on some of the actions that are happening already, and hopefully this summer we'll solidify some more and continue to improve in all the other areas. I'm going to talk to it in the way the document is laid out in terms of the different strategic directive areas. So one area that I talked about a month ago was around resource management, and that has to do with developing the financial management plan and the structures that we can use to help the board monitor its fiduciary responsibility. Today, I do want to talk about a specific strategy around grant strategies. On the screen here, you'll see grants that we received in the last 8 months. And I'm quite excited about that. On the left side, you can see the different grants that we applied for and have received from the different groups, organizations, and the last two just came in the last month, the Kaufman grants. And the last grant here with the Ingalls Elementary School was a grant that we worked with an agency to put forward a grant around culturally responsive teaching and received that grant. So we're looking forward to supporting the district through that avenue in terms of other grants. On the right side, you can see some of the federal grants that are listed here. Most of these grants you have to apply for. And I would say that you can take a look at them. Some of them you might be familiar with, some of the title ones that come through each district. And we have to sort of give a response in terms of our demographics and our needs. And our staff have done a great job of communicating and meeting the compliance to ensure that we receive all those dollars. Get that. At the top, you'll see two sets of grants called the CARES SR1 and SR2. We received the SR1 and we're now receiving the SR2, which is $12 million of our share, which is amazing. That's going to help our bottom line and contribute. So we're getting a lot more dollars than we anticipated. And I know there's another grant up here that's not up here called the GEARS grant. I forget the name of the acronym, but that's $24 million throughout Missouri. And we'll get our portion of that. I suspect our portion will be in the hundreds of thousands, maybe 200,000 or something. But any little bit will help in terms of our bottom line. But the real reason why I'm sharing this with you is that, one, we've done a good job of obtaining some grants, but in talking with some of the agencies and also some of the grant companies, I believe, and I know from some of the data, that we're leaving a lot of money on the table. In terms of this 1.2 million could probably be doubled or tripled in terms of the grants that we could be receiving in our district. We don't have anyone who's actively identifying grants at a systemic level and applying and being able to monitor and follow through. And we need to do that. So I'll give you an example. It costs us about $12,000 to invest in these grants down here, the Kaufman grants, and it yielded us hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's a great investment. So through the grants that we have, we're able to look at having a grant specialist that we will employ that will serve as the role as just looking for grants that meet our priorities and also able to sustain our bottom line. That'll give us two different strategies. One, meet some of the priorities that we're targeting and also give us some dollars to get to the bottom line. And some of the pieces around that is we'll be able to employ a strategy around indirect funds, or some people call it administrative funds in the grants world, where we'll be able to start applying some of the grant dollars to our staffing. So when we have central staff that are doing administrative, we can kind of plant those grants to those dollars. So it's not coming out of our state and local funds. So look forward to that. And I'm excited about that opportunity. And I do believe we'll be able to expand our revenues for our district and then be able to implement the actions that we're going forward. But here's the fruits of our labors this year. It's quite significant in terms of the millions of dollars we've been able to get. And we hope to continue in that vein. And you'll get continued updates on that. So the next area I wanted to talk about was student achievement. Student achievement was one of the strategic directive goals. And one of the things we've been doing is looking at how do we plan for student achievement. We've always been doing student achievement, but I feel there's a sense of urgency that we need to have right now in terms of being able to put forward a plan and some strategies that we can see direct measurable actions right away. So under student achievement, I'm employing a student achievement steering task force. This will be a project-based initiative. I do believe in sort of having a project-based initiative because often institutions and organizations say, oh, we're going to do this thing, we're going to work on it, and you keep working on it and working on it for years and never get to the goals. But having it as a project and you bound it for 2 or 3 years, you know that you're going to have to account for those results and be able to monitor that and say, okay, well, we've been doing this project for 2 years or for 3 years. We started here. Where are we? And we make a success, and we need to employ the appropriate strategies. So this steering committee this steering task force will have the mission of aligning, coordinating, and developing measurable strategies and actions towards student achievement. And I say measurable because often in education, we kind of pick the next best thing that we hear. We hear this district is doing that, or somebody went to a conference and said, this is going, and we do that, and we keep changing. And then we get fatigue at the school level, right? Teachers and staff and parents get tired of, having to change. But I'm talking about strategic measurable. So things that we know are research-based that we can say, okay, we're going to do this. How are we going to measure it? How do we know if it's working? Monitor that for a year, review it, monitor another year. And if it's working, then we apply it and we multiply it. If it's not working, that means we have to shift. When I look at our data at the district, it's time to make a shift. There's definitely a need for a paradigm shift. The data is not good enough for the capabilities of our students. We have a lot of staff working really hard, but it's not good enough to work hard. We need to work smart, right? So part of this steering committee will be looking at our strategies and actions and align them in a way that can be employed across all districts. One of the things we want to achieve is to have a place where we have all our schools be able to have a certain standard. Right now, when I talk to community members or parents, they'll say that school is good, but that school is not so good, and have that kind of subjective or objective opinion. And we need to have a standard that we know that we can say, you can send your child to any one of our schools, you're going to get a certain level of competency and standard. So just a couple of points here I wanted to emphasize. It'll be a 2-3 year project that will sort of have this team working and continue to align and push our staff to reach greater heights. The priority focus will be 0 to 3 and pre-K to 3, right? 0 to 3 years, just said years. So what I'm focusing on right there is that often when you're doing the strategies, we're still going to continue looking at student achievement across the whole district from K to 12. But I do believe the research holds out on this. If we start at the earliest age, that's the foundation. And normally you start from pre-K to 3 and you work on some strategies and interventions to make sure that those students have the basis to do well, the rest of elementary and then the middle school and on. But I think we need to go further back. Let's start from 0 to 3. Let's start identifying parents in the community who have children who are not yet in our system and in daycares, and start having initiatives that we can support those potential students to be ready for schooling. So when they arrive at our doors, they already have a certain level of competency, and it'll be easier for us to move them to a certain level. Someone say something?
Do you have a one of those ports for your iPhone?
I can't hear you, sorry.
Is someone asking a question in regards to this conversation that we're having here, or does we need people to mute?
Okay.
So please continue.
Yeah, maybe okay, it wasn't addressed to me. Okay, well, the other piece is around professional development, instructional capacity development. We need to ensure to raise the bar, not just for our students, but also for our teachers, our instructional coaches, our administrators, and for our superintendents in terms of raising the bar. So we need professional development specifically around instructional capacity development. Many of the research you look at in terms of how districts have moved students along, it's around the improvement of instruction. There are so many other variables, but that is the one variable that is also consistent in all demographics in terms of improvement of instruction. And so we're talking about looking at that from the classroom to administrators. We want our administrators to be instructional leaders as well as our classroom teachers. So we can apply the pressure we all want to get there, but we also have to apply the support. So we'll be providing the guidance and support in order for people to reach there. We'll be looking at exemplary research-based practices. There are all kinds of practices out there, but we have to look at what's going to work for us at Hickman and what we're going to be able to implement in a pace that's going to be good for us in terms of moving forward. But we want to use things that have been tested and we know it works. I've had some of my own personal experiences around what works, but there's all kinds of examples across the country and even in Missouri to pull from to look at what we're doing. And there's examples in our own classrooms, and we probably haven't had the opportunity to kind of fish those out. And so we'll be looking for our staff to come forward to give us some of that input as well too. The steering committee will have inclusive representation, and we'll look at not just the general education, but also English language learners, special education, and that includes gifted too. Often people think gifted program enrichment is different, but gifted kids are actually fall under the umbrella of special education. They're an at-risk group, right? So we need to kind of pertain to that as well too. So we're looking at a real paradigm shift of accountability, right? I'm gonna hold myself accountable, and we're gonna hold our staff accountable in order to do that. One of the resources I think we're gonna be able to employ, considering we've gotten some number of different grants that we'll be able to apply to these projects, is a student achievement officer. I believe I need someone at the district level that's gonna be able to work with the schools and administrators to help support this steering task force to move the project forward. And it'll be a project once again. So it's not gonna be a permanent sort of position forever. It's like, okay, this is your assignment, this is your project, is to move student achievement in Hickman Mills. You've got 2 or 3 years to help us make that happen. And we should be able to see that happen. So there's some high accountability around there. So I wanted to share that with you. So that's moving forward. I'm meeting with the group next week, and then we'll continue to collaborate and meet and start to put some plans in place as soon as next school year to start. And while I'm talking about that, one of the pieces I do want to share that we won't present tonight around the student achievement piece is the COVID slide, right? We know that there's some learning loss because of COVID that we've been through, and how do we make that up? And we've got an aggressive plan for this summer. Summer school is going to look different. And what I'm talking about is extended learning, not just the instructional time, but also in the summer, but even after summer happens, what do we do to continue to support? So we'll come back in May and flesh that out in more detail and apprise the board of the plans for the summer. There are applications already out there for students to register for summer school, but we have a compendium of offerings than just a traditional strategy we've used in the past. The next area that I want to talk about tonight was around the culture, strategic directive goal around culture. And under the culture realm, when you look at the report I presented, one of the areas, a priority area, was around music development. What I didn't see, maybe it's just because of COVID, what I didn't see and what I didn't hear was about high performance in our district, whether if it's through orchestra or strings, bands, and performances that are representing the excellence in our students. I know we have it. I know there are many students who are engaged outside of the school system in things, but we don't have the structure within our district to be producing that at the highest level at this point. And that goes hand in hand with the academic achievement piece. So we want to aggressively to do that. I had conversations with our music teachers in the district and talked about what we need to do. And I challenged them to put together a plan that I could review and look at actions that we could start thinking about putting forward. And they rose to the occasion. So that's why I'm saying we're raising the bar and people are rising to it. So I'm really proud of our music department that's been able to raise up and they developed this plan. So this is not the full plan, but I want to show you some nuggets of it. And I have 2 representatives from the planning group. They're going to share some thoughts to you as well too in a minute. So if you look at the growth plan, so a couple of things that they mentioned, they talked about, we will be doing a 3-year plan because we know we can't build Rome in a day or a year, but it'll be a progressive kind of piece. And some of the nuggets to highlight around improving our programming around music instruction is one, of course, we want to provide options for all our students. Some students we have excel in athletics and sports and other areas and other parts areas. We want to ensure that we have that same level of engagement for music and instrumental music in our district in terms of doing that. And it's also a positive, especially at the elementary level, around social emotional learning for students. And it gets parents engaged and involved in school in a different way in terms of doing that. And it also provides some academic avenues. I would love to see some of our students moving on from high school on to college or career with scholarships through music. There are a lot of music scholarships that are left on the table every year that people don't claim because they haven't applied for or they don't have the skill to. And so we'll be able to hopefully provide that. And then, so they've laid out a little bit of a plan here in terms of year one around some of the things that we'd like to see happen for our schools. But we're trying to be really have a sense of urgency around this as well too. And so this summer, I'll be looking at how do we start a program from the middle school and start building up from grade 6 by either adding staffing around this or looking at strategies where we can develop that so they can be prepared by the time they get to high school. We've got students who are ready to engage in that kind of opportunity. And then lastly, by year 3, we talk about the staffing that we will need. I'm hoping that becomes a problem, that we built this program so well that we need additional staffing like orchestra directors and leaders and teachers. And we've got bands traveling across the country and maybe internationally and presenting and working, and we need staff. That will be a great problem to have, and that's what we want to get to. And we'll have an opportunity to celebrate those successes and hopefully be able to use our talented students to celebrate some of the activities within our district. I did want to have a couple of the group members who developed this proposal plan to say a few words, because this is, I identified it as an issue, but they've had this as an issue all along, and they're very passionate about putting in the work in order to make this happen. And let me publicly thank Jeanette Calapetro, who's the music department head, who has led the group to move forward. Jeanette, if you're on, I'll get you to jump on and say a few words in relation to this priority goal and where we need to go next.
Absolutely. Good evening, everybody. The music department has been talking for some time about how we can build the program, which has somewhat declined over the years. And so we've been working together since November to design this plan and come up with things. We've met with Superintendent Obeng numerous times, and we've tried to align everything with the district goals as well as including the social emotional learning along with that. This spring, we've already started. We're already working. The plan technically starts next year, but we're already in motion. So we are working very hard this spring to increase recruitment efforts for the middle school ensembles, band, orchestra, as well as vocal music. The middle school music teachers have met with administration, and they have some things in place that they are working on. And we have a number of strategies, a number of things, starting from things that the elementary teachers are going to do, things the middle school will do, and things the high school will do.
Order, just for one moment. Can you, everyone please mute their devices, please? We have some kickback coming back from Keisha.
There we go. So we have a number of things in place, and then as you can tell when you look at the slides, if you have a chance to review those later, you can look through those and see kind of the sequence of things that we plan to put in place. We all know that music is a lifelong activity. Some of you probably are using music skills that you learned when you were in school. And we know that music involvement increases academic performance in all subject areas. And as Superintendent Obeng mentioned, when you have performances, that brings in parents and family members, community. You get a lot of support that way. You get a lot of people looking at what you're doing. And so our goal is to grow the music program, which will in turn strengthen our entire district.
Thank you, Jeanette. And I know we had high school representative, Lizelle Williams. Is he there? If you want to say a few words, Lizelle?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, board. Thank you, guests, for having us on. Mr. Williams, high school band and orchestra director. As everyone has said already, we know the importance of music, and we thank you for your support throughout the years. We have several things in place. So what are the outcomes that you will see? As you have more recruitment, you will have an increased enrollment, which leads to more performances. So we look forward to district-wide festivals, all the choir students together, all the band students together, all the orchestra students together, showcasing, increasing student engagement, increasing parental involvement as well. And we have had some opportunities to do travel, and we're going to continue to do that. Even this year, we're looking at some of those things as well, getting an opportunity for our students to showcase and represent the district well, regionally and nationally. Throughout the years, our students have done a fantastic job at the state level and at the district level, bringing home awards. And we just want some support and continued support to continue to do that and push us forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Williams and Ms. Calapicha. I know you've both been avid champions of this initiative and look forward to partnering with you. We're excited and look forward to giving this opportunity to our kids. So I will leave it there and look forward to continue to meet with you guys in preparation for next year. Okay. I think that's it. I know President Watry.
President Watry had to step away for a minute,
Okay.
so I will take over for a second until he returns. And it looks like we will be moving on to, first I want to say great program. I look forward to getting my granddaughter into the music program. Sounds like we're heading to a great start for this upcoming year. And kudos to you, Obing.
Oh, excuse me, Miss Rena, I have one thing to ask Mr. Obing. I am very excited about the music program, but I wanted to also add that I would like to see our sports program kind of go a little bit further than just high school. I believe, because like the younger kids, they don't get to experience basketball, soccer. I haven't seen none of the schools, the middle schools either, have programs for the kids to play basketball. Maybe once, we probably had it one time, but they don't, the younger kids don't get the basketball and the other sports. And it's very expensive for kids to be involved in sports. And I think if we start looking at that too, also that'd be a great thing to have for the younger ones to be able to be involved in sports and activities as well, just to have something to do. And it kind of help the parents as well, because you can't afford those programs right now. It's very expensive to put kids in the sports. But if we have it in our community, I think that would help too. But I'm very excited about the music program.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Carter. And that's, if you remember back to the Future We Want document, I talked about 2A. 2A is athletics and arts. So today we talked about the arts, the music, but we will be talking about athletics too. I know the athletic department and Mr. Allen, they're all excited about improving our athletic programs right from the elementary right to up. You only get good programs at the secondary level if you feed the elementary, right? If you're able to establish that. So we will be looking at that as well too. So look forward to sometime near future when we'll start talking about plans we're going to do to support our kids. We want our kids to excel in all areas, right? We want to give those opportunities to excel in all those areas, both academically and enrichment for their whole well-being. So thank you for those comments, and you'll see that eventually come to the board table to share with you.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any other comments before we move on to the next agenda item? Okay, we'll be moving on to the April bond update.
Good evening, Board of Directors. This is Dan Weekly, and I'll be starting off with the bond update. We'll have a very short update tonight. We're kind of in a kind of a middle part phase, which is a slow phase where we're collecting bids and getting bids and opening bids. So kind of a financial and spreadsheet crunch right now going on. So before the storm, I guess, of construction. So one thing that I did want to present to you tonight, we had the completion of the Ruskin High School turf has been completed. And I just offer you a couple of photos here. I certainly encourage you to stop by sometime and take a look, but the field looks great. It looks beautiful. Kids are already playing on it and really enjoying it. It's been a great project, and so glad we got this completed for the soccer season for this year. So we're really excited about it. We also, as you remember, we had a 3-year maintenance program put into, so we'll learn over the next 3 years how to maintain this product, and so extend the life of it and the performance of it as well. So we're really excited about that. So Next slide, please. Take it away,
Good evening.
Marquise.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. So Ruskin High School, we've already bid the elementaries, and Ruskin High School bid last Thursday on 4/8. And so right now we're in the evaluation phase of Ruskin as far as the bids are concerned. Next slide, please. The punch list that we've put up, specifically from Vice President Kendrick asking what items. Now so Ruskin High School seating sod is complete. The Welcome Center is complete. We made this as of last week. So currently Santa Fe Elementary, we have some asphalt repair to do over there once it warms up a little bit more. Okay, so I spoke last month and I said that I would show availability. So one of the things that the board really wanted to see after the asphalt project went underway was the availability of MBE, WBE contractors in the metro. And so pre-bid, we spoke and we told you that we found 79 potentially qualified firms. Of that 79 firms, 37 of them were unqualified to work on the district's projects, whether that be financial stability or, the company was in some other type of turmoil. Out of that, we found 42 companies who are actually qualified to be able to work on the district's projects. And we reached out to all 79 firms and spoke to them all. And we got 42 of the firms qualified to be able to work on the district's projects. That was pre-bid. So post-bid, of those 42 firms who are actually qualified to work on the district's projects that have the documents, only 9 of them actually bid it. And so what we did is we turned around and reached out to them all and said, okay, what happened here? And of that, for these various reasons, 12 firms told us they were too busy. 7 of the firms told us that it was not a good fit. 6 of them said the project was either because of the size that their company is, either it was too big for them or it was too small. And then there was just 8 other firms who had various reasons as to why they didn't do that. And that was kind of a laundry list of things. Now, with that being said, we think at this particular point that our MBE, WBE participation is greater than what you saw on the asphalt project. So we'll be able to share that next month at the next board meeting to tell you where we actually stand on participation. In addition to that, we'll also be able to tell you where we are with Ruskin in terms of participation for that project at this point. Because Ruskin bid after the elementary schools, some of the contractors that were going to carry to Ruskin now aren't big enough to actually be able to handle the scope of work that is there to get it completed when we need it done for the district. So that's what we have at this point. Is there anything for me?
Quick question, out of the 9 that bid it, how confident are you that these companies can handle our projects?
I'm very confident that the successful bidders can handle the projects. We've spent a great deal of time, Vice President Kendrick, vetting these contractors to ensure that they're not going to fall down on your project. So those that do get awarded, I'm very confident that they'll complete it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all we have for tonight, for the April bond update.
Well, I have a question for you, Mr. Weekly. How do we basically, when we do our contracts, And how is it publicly announced for people to be able to bid on some of the things that we have in the district, like our lawn care contract for I think it's Ruskin. Is that one, is that coming up for a bid? Like, how do our community know where to go to bid on, or if they can bid? Is it publicly announced?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's publicly announced, and
Okay.
yeah, we did that back in February. So it was publicly announced and accepted at the time. We put it out for, I think, 3 weeks, I believe, which is 2 weeks is what we're required to do. And I think we actually put that out for 3.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You bet.
Thank you, Mr. Weekly and Marquise, for shepherding this major project for us. It's important that we dot the I's and cross the T's all along the way. So I'm appreciative of the presentations. I know it's a lot of work to come back every month, but I know it's important to the board and to the community that our dollars are being spent to support our schools and our students. So thank you for making that effort.
Yes, thank you. I believe President Watry is back, so I will hand it back over to him.
Okay, so thank you for your presentation, and we will move on to the agenda item 9.1. Sorry, which is our policy review. So if we can pull that up, let me see here. So this policy was taken to committee, comprised of Director Townsend, myself, and Vice President Kendrick. And amongst discussion, we were able to kind of clean up this policy and make it a little bit more, I think, a little bit more thorough and a little bit more considerable to bring to the board. So what I will do is I will read this policy as printed in its entirety before I ask for a motion among the recommendation of the policy committee to approve this policy. So the statement is that the purpose statement is that the Hickman Mills C-1 School Board of Education acknowledges and understands that there are several factors that impact our accreditation. Board governance has been identified as a factor to reaching full accreditation. To ensure transparency and accountability, the Board of Education's expectations of the district, must be met. Sorry, I lost my space. Vice President Kendrick, can you please take hold of the readings from here? I do need to answer this phone call.
Okay. To ensure transparency and accountability, the Board of Education expectations of the district must be met with the dedication of the board to fulfill its duty as stewards of the district. Per policy BBD, board directors' absences are excused by the board for reasons satisfactory to the board. The policy amendment is to ensure that the Board of Education leads by example with attendance and adherence to ability to excuse absence of the board as a whole per BBF school board members ethics.
Ms. Kendrick, sorry, I'm back.
Okay.
Don't mean to keep going back and forth. Sorry, everyone. The policy statement. The following will reset each calendar school year. 1, board directors who cannot attend scheduled meetings must provide board secretary and/or board president, vice president notification of absence. It must be the responsibility of that board member to seek an excused absence by motion at the next scheduled meeting. The second absence, the board director will have a one-on-one conversation with the board president prior to the next meeting. And the third absence, the director could be subjected to the items below: public conversation, censure, a public statement from the board review for any action taken, loss of committee assignments, subjected to the review of oath taken in a public setting, and the director can be subjected to a vote of no confidence. Protocol of attendance practices include excused and unexcused absences must be reflected in the minutes. The board must determine if reasons are satisfactory via a motion to excuse absence. If a director is late to a meeting, the director must announce their presence to be reflected in the minutes. If a director is significantly late to a meeting without prior notice to the board president or vice president or board secretary, the board can consider if it constitutes as an absence. If a director who is marked present at the beginning of the meeting but leaves the meeting without proper notice to the board, the director could be considered absent from the meeting. Board directors who need to leave a meeting must announce to the board a point of order and declare their departure. Among discussion and a motion made amongst the policy committee, the policy committee was seeking the approval of the second reading of this agenda of this policy, and it be brought to the board for full review. It has been reviewed, and the chair is seeking a motion.
I move that we accept the policy proposed statement, policy change.
Is there a second?
A second.
It's been moved in second. Is there any discussion? All right. Not hearing
We
any.
have a point of order. Point of order.
Point of order?
Yeah. Somebody needs to mute.
Thank you. So, I'm sorry?
Yeah, can we hold this until the new board member comes in since it affects her?
I'm sorry?
Shouldn't we hold this until the reorganization so the new board member can have her say on the policy?
I would comment with that in the aspect that the new board member, this applies to both board members of old and new, and it sets a precedent that allows us to be able to ensure that we're governing correctly. One of the reasons why this is brought up, even in the aspect of asking a new member, anyone coming on, to adhere to such a policy, would be due to the recent events of the past coming year. We have had, upon looking at the other districts surrounding Hickman, which KCPS, Raytown, Lee Summit, Grandview, as well as Center. Of all their board members' absences combined, we have the most, citing one board member at 40% missing the last meetings in the last calendar school year, even though we've only had 10 months. So as this has been a reoccurring issue with old and new board members who have come on for years at hand, it would be important for this board, as it currently stands, to ensure that in the future that they are able to ensure board governance continues to be one of the pillars that attributes to our accreditation. So I guess to say all that, to hold it for a new board member who has not yet received any of the training qualifications, or even so much as had a chance to receive a retreat from the MSBA to discuss policy demand, which every member here has been able to, it would be putting her at a disservice on voting on something which she does not have the information to vote on to begin with, if that answers your question.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? So the one question that I have is, I guess I have for the attorney. In the aspect that this could be rescinded by the board, that comes that the board is reorganized and this could be rescinded by the previous board, is that a possibility?
Carla, you're on mute.
I'm sorry, I'm just talking away. So your question is, can this be rescinded?
Yes.
Well, there's three different ways that you can bring a motion back before the board. So you could rescind, it could be rescinded, it could be reconsidered, it could be amended.
Okay.
Any of those things, a board always has the option to do with regard to any item that's passed. So
Okay.
this is no different than any other item.
So pretty much like any board policy, pretty much that comes before, just as we've amended policies or suspended policies, has the capability to be amended or suspended or rescinded by any board.
Right, and that doesn't apply just to policy. That applies to any action that's taken by any governing body under Robert's rules. Those options are always available.
Perfect. So in the aspect of that argument would have to be made of why they would be rescinding such a policy, correct? In discussion.
It's open for discussion.
Okay. All right. I wanted to clarify because in the aspect of moving forward, I want to understand that the policies that we're bringing forth, that if the board is in agreement, and I understand that sometimes the board can be like a 4-3 split, and as things transition, that can change. I just want to ensure that everyone understands the reasons for these recent policies that have been brought up, including this one, and that it's added for the reasons of ensuring that we achieve accreditation and that the board is doing their job. I appreciate it, Carla. Thank you for your comment.
Absolutely.
So is there any further discussion? All righty. We will call it to a vote. Director Townsend.
I'm gonna go with no. I still think the new member should be part of it.
Understood. Director McGee.
Aye.
Director Graves.
Aye.
Director Carter.
Aye.
Director Brooks.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries.
You forgot me.
Oh, I sure did. I knew I did. Director
Aye.
Kendrick. Thank
Aye.
you. Motion carries. Chair votes aye. 6-1. Moving on to agenda item 9.2, which is the requested board action relative to the approval of the Amendum software for the 21-22 school year.
Thank you, President Watry. Do have Ms. Katie Rowe will speak to this recommendation and then open to board members for any follow-up questions at that. Ms. Rowe?
Good evening, board. Edmentum is our courseware that is the district's primary online learning platform. It is used extensively at both Ruskin High School and Burke Academy. Additionally, it also has a reading support program that is for all of our ESOL students, and each elementary building has a certain number of licenses to that Reading Eggs program. So most of our students know Edmentum as Plato. It is a standards-based online learning program that can be used for both credit recovery as well as for credit advancement. Within Edmentum, we also have unlimited test prep resources such as ACT, HiSET, ASVAB, WorkKeys, etc. The quote that's included in this board memo is for the renewal of unlimited licenses for Plato courseware for grades 6 through 12 students, as well as Reading Eggs for our ESOL students. Additionally, it comes with ongoing on-site professional development for our teachers and administrators. I will share that currently we have 6,761 active enrollments in Edmentum for this school year. There are 221 active sections of classes. So meaning those are the types of classes that we offer, and multiply that by however many kids are in there. And that's where you get the over 6,000 students that are enrolled in Plato courses. We did do an investigation, maybe that's the wrong word. We did a couple of demos during the 1920 school year along with the Ruskin administration team. The two products that we demoed at that time were Launch and Acellus. And at the time, the team that did the demos agreed that we wanted to continue with Edmentum. The 1-year renewal for Play-Doh and Reading Eggs is $69,992.50. That is a cost savings of approximately $13,000 from last school year. So it is a decrease in spending and has been approved to be paid for out of our Cerner TIF funds.
Hello.
The last thing that I would mention to the board for consideration is that we are required to maintain compliance with the Missouri Virtual Course Completion Program. So we do have students who otherwise without Edmentum would be going elsewhere and costing the district additional dollars to pay for other programs. So I will share that Edmentum does help to keep us compliant that way and has helped us to single-handedly keep our VLP at the secondary level afloat for this school year. I'll end with the superintendent recommends the renewal of Edmentum to be paid for out of Cerner funds for the 21-22 school year.
The chair is seeking a motion.
I move that we accept the recommendation of the superintendent to renew the, you took it away.
The approval of the amendment software.
Yep, if you could pull it back up, I can, amendment software
For the 21,
for the 2021 school year.
21-22 school year.
22. Sorry, we're in 22. 2021, 22 school year.
Go lay down. Go lay down.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Lay down.
Open the floor for discussion.
You may need to mute.
Yes, I have a question. How often does anyone go in and review the coursework accuracy? Because I know about 3 years ago, my son on it that no one had knew, and he had to take it back to the calculus teacher to verify it. So how do we verify the accuracy of these courses?
I would share that all of the courses, Edmentum is a Missouri online program approved through DESE, and so they have to go through a certification process in order to receive that stamp of approval, if you will, to be a certified vendor. All of the courses are aligned to Missouri learning standards. And we have a host of teachers who all teach virtual Play-Doh courses and help to monitor students' usage, their engagement if they get stuck, as well as a full-time virtual learning coordinator, which is Miss April Allen at the high school. She puts in extensive hours monitoring what's occurring within Edmentum and is a valuable asset to the team.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Is there any further discussion before we call it to a vote?
I just wanted to ask, because I know you're taking this money out of Cerner funds. I was curious as to how much we have in our Cerner TIF funds we're paying out of.
I would defer to Ms. Wiltsey if she can respond to that.
Yes, I can. Right now, we have 220,000, but we receive money every April and every October, so we should be getting another deposit. So we should probably end up with about 500,000 for the year. But we should be getting 6 million over the 8 years.
And how do we make the determination to pay for this program out of Cerner funds?
And we had created a plan 3 years ago that had to be approved by the 3-party commission, and then also taken and approved by the TIF commission. And then once that was approved, falling within the plans that we have set aside, then we were able to submit invoices for the items that had to match the plan, and we were reimbursed. Does that answer your question? So there's certain categories that we have to follow based on the Cerner TIF.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? All right. No further discussion. We'll call it to a vote. Director McGee,
Aye.
Director Graves,
Aye.
Director Townsend,
Aye.
Director Kendrick,
Aye.
Director Carter,
Aye.
Director Brooks.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, directors.
Thank you. Next item. Next item is 9.3, which is the approval of the renewing of sped track.
Thank you, President Watry. We'll have Deputy Superintendent Dr. Skinner speak to this item and ask the board for any questions before approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. The issue on sped track renewal is that our district must maintain compliance with up-to-date electronic forms to use with all special education programs. And we started using sped track during the 2016-17 school year. We began with a few modules and we added a few more in the 17-18 school year by adding our 504 module. And the opportunity has recently come up for a progress monitoring module as well as a translation, which kind of led to us to a early renewal, if you will. So as we started looking to do a renewal with sped track, we did look for several options since the opportunity availed itself. We looked at the just paying the annual renewal with the added features, and that would have actually been about $29,500. But we looked at by trying to renegotiate our contract at this time, we were able to do a savings of approximately $14,000 over the next 5 years by going back and finishing. Again, we have 1 year left on our 4-year renewal, and by going ahead and renegotiating now and doing a 5-year renewal, again, we're going to save the $14,000. So again, we are going to add a new module of progress monitoring, which allows the teachers to track progress on individual IEP goals electronically and chart their growth, which is very good so that they can actually see where they are in the moment and they can monitor and adjust their goals to make sure that they meet them. There's also a translation service that's going to go ahead and translate all the IEP forms into the student's first language, which we have not had before. And if you look at the chart that's in front of you, you'll see, again, year 1 really is the end of our last contract because, again, we still have a year left with that. But again, as you'll see, instead of paying the $29,510, by doing it this way, we've actually reduced that first year down to $26,700, which is a little over $2,800 savings. And basically, even with a 2.5% increase each year, because if you look at the bottom of each one of those columns, you'll see that that's basically what it does. It increases 2.5% each year. We still do save over $14,000 in the 5 years. And again, by doing this, it's going to give us the ability to update our special education forms. It's going to give us access electronically to all of our modules in one software package. It's also going to give us a comprehensive error checker, which basically scans documents and lets us know that if there's something in the IEP that's not completed, as well as lets us know an alert in case something needs to be done with an upcoming deadline. The checklist guides staff through the process, again, over and over to make sure that their due dates are met, tracking, reporting progress on goals. So again, and it has a ability to generate a plethora of reports to help our staff. This is part of the second pillar of our schools. You know, it allows our students to be serviced as outlined in their IEPs, tracked, and make sure that they're making progress toward their academic goals, as well as it provides a supportive climate, and it keeps us in compliance. So again, what we are looking for is approval of a 5-year, I know it says 3, but it should be a 5-year contract with sped track. So again, it's going to take us through the end of our current contract and into an additional 4 years.
Thank you.
So Dr. Skinner, are you saying we have 1 year left and we're adding 4 years to it, or we have 4 years left and we're adding 1 year to it?
We had 1 year left, and what happened was, again, adding the progress monitoring module as well as the translation service was going to be an extra little over right at $9,000. And by renegotiating now, okay, we're saving 14,000. So really, if we didn't do anything, we had 1 year left on our contract, we would just have to pay an additional $9,000 for these extra features. But by contracting now and doing a 5-year contract, which is ending the 1 year that we had before, adding an additional 4, we're going to save the $14,000.
Okay. And how many years have you said? What?
We've had it
I
since
forgot.
16. It is
16,
something that's
okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember what year you said, so 16. Okay,
It
so
is
we've
one of
had it
those-
for 4 years. Okay.
Well, we had it.
4. And they're good with it, the staff's good with it?
Yes, we get training on it every year. We update. And again, this really is something we've been looking for a long time with these newly added modules. And again, really, we just took the advantage of the fact that with this new module, and we had 1 year left on the contract by negotiating a little early, just trying to save money in the long run.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. President Walsh, do you want to do a motion before any further discussion?
Yeah. So Chair is seeking a motion to for the approval of the 3-year contract with SpedTrack.
I move that we accept the recommendation of superintendent to approve the 3-year contract for SpedTrack.
Could we make it 5 years? Sorry, that was a typo.
I mean, I'm sorry, 5-year. Yes, sorry, 5-year.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, I'll call it to a vote. Director McGee?
Aye.
Director Carter?
Aye.
Director Kendrick?
Aye.
Director Brooks?
Aye.
Director Townsend?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 7-0.
Forgot me.
Oh, Ms. Graves, my apologies. Ms. Graves?
Aye. Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 7-0. Sorry, I don't have premonition. I apologize.
President Walsh, can I just do a quick thank you both to Ms. Rowe and Dr. Skinner for being smart and savvy enough to negotiate earlier to get some savings for us, because the online platforms costs are going up. So a year from now, we'd be paying considerably more. So thank you, Dr. Skinner, for looking after the district's interests and taking initiative on that.
Thank you both, Ms. Rowe, and to Dr. Skinner. All right, we are now moving on to 9.4.
On item 9.4, it's a contracted services bid. The district must also provide special education services, based on the students' IEPs. And currently, a recent study said 98% of school districts report special education shortages and hard to fill positions. And again, we're just like everybody else. We have problems filling some of those hard to fill positions. And because there is such a nationwide issue, there's a plethora of organizations out there attracting and retaining those hard to fill positions. So they would rather work for somebody else sometimes than coming to work for a school district. And so that's the need for contracted service bid. We've been utilizing Quantum, which is actually the 360. They've kind of had a name change since 2013. And we've also been using another provider, Soliant, since 2015. And although we've been very satisfied with these companies and their services, it's just really good accounting practices to put out a new RFP every 5 years to make sure that we're getting the best service for the district, in the most fiscally responsible way. And we're also taking this time to see if we can move to a sole vendor provider for all the services. So in March, we created an RFP for contracted services for the next school year. We requested the bid to accommodate a 5-year contract, and we did receive 3 bids for the contract. We received one for a company called A & Associates, another one which is Q360, which is Quantum, and another one for Soliant. We then created a team to review the bids, and we scored the bids on 4 areas of importance. Those areas were prior comparable experience, conformance and suitability of proposals to specifications and purpose, responsiveness of the written proposal, and cost and value of the proposition. And all three companies responded and highlighted different strengths in the proposals. We had our team, which comprised of staff that works directly with these services. There was myself, there was the Director of Student Services, the Special Education Coordinator, the lead speech language pathologist, and one of our academic evaluators were on the team. We looked and we found several strengths and challenges for all three companies. A&A Associate, they're located in Florida, but they were willing to relocate and open an office in Kansas City. And they had extensive history working with city, school districts, and special events. However, the bulk of their bid showed that they specialized in filling clerical and administrative, custodian, security officers, and food services. And it looked like they were wanting to kind of branch out into more of the contracted services areas, although they did not include any resumes of potential staff in their bid. Soliant, they're located out of Georgia, and if they were awarded the bid, they would continue to support the district remotely. And again, both Soliant and Q360 listed extensive positions within the field of special education they were able to fill. They provided numerous resumes of people like speech language pathologists, occupational therapists, which are some of the ones that we currently use. They both exhibited a laser focus on special education process and all the components. They discussed IEPs, evaluations, HIPAA, progress monitoring, and they both mentioned special licensure and special education regulations specific to Missouri. So as you start looking at the scores, we have a chart. Q360, is also located in the Kansas City area, and their CEO was a former occupational therapist. The COO was a former physical therapist. So again, they're not just recruiters, they have experience within the field. And so the team felt for many reasons, including those that Q360 was the most responsible and appropriate bid for the district. There is a chart, and if you hold right there on that, if you go up a little bit, you'll see how they were scored. You'll see that A&A Associates scored a 1280, Q360 scored a 1750, and Soliant scored a 1670. And if you go a little bit further down and you look at the next chart, you'll see that really Soliant and Q360 both seem to be able to provide quality service for the district's needs. However, when you start looking at these positions, and these are some of the positions that we currently use and we will need next year, you see some of the rates for the comparison between the two. Q360, let's say, for instance, speech language pathologist, they range from $62 to $65 an hour. Soliants are $69 to $74. And again, that depends on who they contract with, because they're contracting with independent contractors out there who are not working for a school district or a medical field. They work under Soliant or Q360. And then again, we do contracts with them that we later take to the board. Soliant also listed in their bid that they would increase basically not to exceed 2% each year. And Q360 said that they would remain the same for the first 2 years and look at an increase up to 3% for the third year, which would also remain in years 4 and 5. So over a 5-year period, you're looking at an 8% increase possibility versus a 3%. And so that was good as well. So when we start looking at this, if we go with Q360, basically, which we have been using, but we'll go with them as a sole vendor, our students will receive the required services outlined in their IEP without a disruption in service. And that is key as well. Since we already use them, they have people in place that when we start the school year, we will have all our students being met right away. We won't have to wait while people look for positions to be filled. When you look at our 5-year strategic plan, the first pillar, our district, focuses on staffing. The second pillar, our schools, focuses on academic growth and continuous improvement. And again, by staffing through Q360, make sure that the districts meet all requirements for the IDEA. So with all that being said, the superintendent is recommending the approval of a 5-year contract with Q360.
Chair is seeking a motion.
So move.
Second.
Well, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, with no discussion, we'll call it to a vote. Ms. Graves,
Aye.
Mr. McGee,
Aye.
Ms. Carter,
Aye.
Mr. Townsend,
Aye.
Ms. Kendrick,
Aye.
Mr. Brooks.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 7-0.
Okay. For the next item, it is the alternative transportation bid renewal. And again, the district does transport students for which Apple Bus cannot provide transportation, such as our special education contract schools, our McKinney-Vento students, our foster care students. And again, this is one of those situations where we have been utilizing ALC schools since 2016. And at that time, our service provider kind of backed out very suddenly, and we had about 2 weeks, and we didn't have time to put out an RFP. So we piggybacked off Lee Summit, and we went with ALC. But again, this goes back to what I said before. It's good accounting practice to go out for an RFP every 5 years. So we decided to do both of these at the same time. So in March, we created the RFP for the Alternative Transportation Company starting next school year. We requested the bid to accommodate basically a 5-year contract, and we did receive 2 bids. We received one from ALC and one from WHC, KCT, or Z-Trip. Again, we created teams to review the bids and score on the same 4 areas of importance: the prior comparable experience, conformance and suitability of proposal to specifications and purpose, responsiveness of the written proposal, cost and value of the proposition. And again, the team was comprised of myself, the Director of Student Services, the Student Services Specialist, Administrative Assistant to the Deputy Superintendent of Student Services, and the Student Services Administrative Assistant. Again, these are the key people that work with these companies for this purpose. Again, we found strengths and challenges for both of these companies that submitted. They both had been doing business for over a decade. They both had similar sized fleets of vehicles, and they both kind of did the same thing. They did contract with independent people to drive their vehicles. However, the qualities and professionalism of ALC's proposal, and they had what they called a Karen gene, persuaded the team that ALC would best service the district. They also had over 55% of their current contract providers identify themselves as minority or female or disability-based owned companies. They also talk about specializing in transporting McKinney-Vento, foster students, students with special needs, and students traveling out of the district, which was not mentioned in the previous. They also have a bilingual student monitoring and tracking team as a first line for parent communication. They have trained substitute drivers in the same way they do their drivers, which is a very detailed process. Parents know in advance the driver's name, make, model, and color of the vehicle that's coming to their home. And that's really huge. And they have an extensive process for onboarding and vetting and training the drivers. Again, both companies use GPS real tracking for you can actually map where the vehicles are in town. But ALC is actually beta testing right now a parent application that we could push out to parents, and parents could see this as well. Again, the scores overall, you can see the team choice that we felt that ALC was the most responsible and appropriate bid for the district. ALC scored a 1690 and Z-Trip a 1588, a little over 100-point difference. When we start looking at the cost benefits, ALC would have 2 key personnel assigned to us, an account coordinator and an account manager dedicated just for us. So therefore, we'd be able to use our student services administrative assistants for their intended purpose. And one of an example of the service, the ALC account coordinator would go to the home of a student if they felt that they were uncomfortable riding in a vehicle, with a stranger, go out there, introduce them, meet them, and make sure that the parent and that child feel comfortable driving with that, driver all year going to school, and they would make sure that we had the same driver all year. They provide that same information to us, so we're in the know as well. And this means, again, there'll be no approved overtime hours to complete hours because our assistants will be able to do what they need to during the school day. And again, since ALC has been serving us for a while, they are very familiar with our students and our families. And when we start looking at this, again, ALC specialized, and it came out very clear in their bid that they transport students, for McKinney-Vento, foster kids, and contracted schools with special needs. Our 5-year strategic plan, the second pillar, our schools, focuses on school and attendance and safe and supportive climate. And again, they have that excellent service via the Care and Gene. And here was one quote by one of my administrative assistants that works with them on a daily basis. She said, "Doug Westwood generally cares about making sure our kids are getting the best service. He has my personal cell number and has called me on several times after working hours to inform me of what's going on with the family. I don't know if we get this level of personal care with any other transportation service. Doug truly goes above and beyond our students." So again, with all this being said, the superintendent is recommending the approval of a 5-year contract with ALC schools.
I move that we accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the 5-year contract with ALC schools.
Is there a second? It's been moved and second. Is there any discussion? All right, with no discussion, we will call it to a vote. Mr. Brooks.
Aye.
Ms. Kendrick.
Aye.
Mr. Townsend.
Aye.
Ms. Graves.
Aye. Sure, thank you.
Mr. McGee.
What are you doing multi-task?
Aye.
Ms. Carter.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, board.
All right, that brings us to item 9.6, which is graduation.
Hello, board members. I would like to bring to discussion the graduation. With this being an unprecedented year with the pandemic, it's been an extreme year for our students and for Obing and for our leadership, for President Watry, working with Obing to assure that our students get back into school and our staff gets increase in pay. So it's been a great year besides the pandemic. But I would like to bring a motion to the table regarding graduation. Since this has been a historical year, and we even now we are still stewarding our families and shareholders through this pandemic. I would like to make a motion to our current Board of Education to allow graduation proceedings to be managed by our current president, President Watry, during this time, and to steward over the graduation as far as signing diplomas and speaking at the graduation.
Mr. President, is that a motion?
I believe it is.
Yes, that was a motion. I'm sorry.
I second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right. With there being no discussion, we'll call it to a vote.
No, I'm sorry, I had unmute.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
I'm not quite clear on this because I understand what Ms. Kendrick said, but you're not the president, and I mean, you will not be. Maybe you will be if you voted. But I just think whoever the board president is the one that presides over the graduation. And I'm not downplaying that you haven't done some things, but I think that's totally out of order.
Well, it was a motion. It was a motion.
Yeah, we can vote on it.
It was a motion because he has been the president during this school year. And that's the reason I brought the motion to the table.
Yeah.
Since he has been the president of the board and this graduating students will be under his leadership.
And that's really not how it works. Every April we have a change, oftentimes in leadership, and that new person is the one who presides over the graduation. But again, you have to bring it to a vote.
It's just a courtesy and emotion.
Yeah, I understand that.
Thank you.
Did we do this last year? I believe so, when we had Dr. Cowgirl come and speak at the graduation, and then we had Keisha speak. And wasn't this, if you could refresh my memory, maybe I might be wrong, but I thought last year, did we do something like that? Kind of like last year? Where the
President
president,
Washburn, we've had a motion.
Yes, ma'am. So, and yes, and being the fact this kind of encompasses discussion, and being the fact that I'm a part of the discussion, yes, Miss Carter, you're correct. We had Dr. Cargile who went to Center District, as well as Waukesha Briggs speak at graduation in honor of them stewarding those students the previous year. But that was a decision for that president to make. I made that decision.
Right.
But out of just honoring those who came before. But I leave it to the board to make this decision. So is there any further discussion? Okay, with no further
Mr.
discussion.
President.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I think that I'm for the motion. I think it would be a good board policy that what the motion entails, and I'm voting for that. But I think also if there isn't a different president, then that person would be introduced at the convocation. I think that would be proper for that to occur. If there is another president other than yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Pardon me, if I, and I'm not sure that necessarily has to be a part of the motion, but I guess in good public policy and good stewardship, it makes sense to do that.
Yes, sir. So in that aspect, Ms. Kendrick, Mr. Brooks is making that suggestion. It is completely up to you to amend your original motion.
Yes, I would like to amend the original motion to include what Mr. Brooks stated.
Okay.
To introduce the new president, if it's not you, in the next at the graduation.
Or that the current president presents is also presented at the current graduation, regardless of whoever that may be.
Yes.
Okay. Does that help? Is that satisfactory?
Mr. President, I'll second the amended motion. I didn't think it was necessary to do that, but if you want it in black and white or whatever it might be, I'll second that and call for the question. Go.
Okay. All right. So it's been called to the question to vote.
Can I, President Watcher, can I just give the board some information? On the issue of the president, I know the practice, and Ms. Rowe can kind of correct me on this. I think the graduation documentation has already been ordered, and it usually goes from the August to April. So whoever was the president would be on there. So if you look back last year, it would have been Ms. Briggs on the documentation. Yes, it is the prerogative of the incoming president and superintendent to speak at the graduation. Last year, I was asked, and I yielded to Dr. Cargile to speak because I knew she had a connection with the school and the community. So, but it is up to the new president and superintendent in that situation to do that. But in terms of the diplomas and things, it's a done deal. It's already printed. It's already been ordered and printed. So I wouldn't want the board to be sort of debating over back and forth, something that's already been done already. So just for your information.
Appreciate it. Thank you for the context. If there's no further discussion, let's call it to a vote. Director Carter?
Aye.
Director Kendrick?
Aye.
Director McGee?
Aye.
Director Graves?
Aye.
Director Townsend. Director Townsend, are you there? You're muted, sir.
Okay. No.
Okay. Chair votes aye, motion carries 6-1.
Mr. President, I don't think you heard my aye,
Oh, I
but
didn't.
aye.
Sorry, I swear, I have no premonition whatsoever. Mr. Brooks.
Aye, thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. Motion carries 6-1. Okay, so going back to our agenda, and we are scheduled to go into closed session. Chair is seeking a motion to suspend open session to go into closed session.
I move do we suspend open session, go into closed session for pursuant to 610.021.
Second.
1, 3, and
3,
13.
thank you. 1, 3, and 13. Is there, and it's been moved in second. Is there any discussion? All right, with no discussion, we'll call it to a vote. Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Ms. Kendrick? Ms. Kendrick?
Aye.
Mr. Townsend?
Aye.
Ms. Graves?
Aye.
Mr. Brooks?
Aye.
Ms. Carter?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 7-0. For those of you who are participants, please wait. There is still much more agenda to complete. We will be back with you shortly.
Mr. O'Bean, would you?
April, I didn't get the close.
The links, April sent the link out to everyone. You should have received it. It's an email with both links for the board and the closed section. Look, just pull up April's name. Probably would have been the last email you got from her.
Mr. O'Bean, I don't think I got that. If you would ask her to send it to me again, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, to the same email?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just text me if you can't get in. I'll send it to you directly then.
Right, so thank you.
Miss Waterman, did you hear that? She's probably gone already. Okay.
Mhm. I think we have quorum. I think we have quorum back, do we not?
Who's all on? Because I guess I'm not seeing everybody.
I see at least 5 board members. I see Miss Coleman's here. I see, yeah.
Hold on just a minute. Everybody. Mr. President,
Yes, sir, I see you.
just before we adjourn officially, just let me say that it's certainly been a pleasure serving with all of you and working with our new superintendent, and I'm looking forward to good and better things as we move forward. And to our new board member, Ms. Coleman, congratulations to you. And I can't officially I can't officially because I'm not out yet. I officially welcome you to the board, although you're taking my place on my way. And to Ms. Graves, congratulations to you that continue your stint here on the board. And I hope that the years ahead will bring a lot of advancement to this district and that we get our accreditation working with the superintendent and his staff. So that's it for me. God bless all of you. I am gone. See you as a non-voting member of this esteemed and august body. God bless you.
God bless you, sir.
Would truly be missed, Mr. Brooks.
I'm just around the corner.
Yeah, I'll see you around, Mr. Brooks.
Don't call me, I will call you.
All right.
God bless everybody.
I'm blessed.
Thanks.
Mr. Brooks, I have a couple of those books waiting on you, waiting on your signature.
Is he gone?
Yeah, he's
He's
heading out.
gone.
He's
Yeah.
heading out.
Like a blur.
Mr. Watry,
Yes, ma'am.
if I could suggest when you come back into open session again, if you wouldn't mind doing a roll call, given the number
Absolutely.
of people on the call.
Absolutely. And what, a matter of fact, we'll go ahead and call it to order at 8:26, coming back in the session. And Ms. Waterman, if you would.
Absolutely. Well, we heard from Director Brooks.
Yes.
Director Townsend,
Here.
Director McGee.
Here.
Thank you. Director Graves,
Aye.
Director Kendrick,
Aye.
Director Carter,
Aye.
Director Watry.
Aye.
Thank you. 6-0.
All right. Now approaching item 11.0, oath of office. And Ms. Johnson, I will turn it over to you. Or no, actually, Ms. Waterman.
That would be me. All right, we will start by saying congratulations to Ms. Graves and Ms. Coleman. And we will start with Ms. Graves. And we will go ahead and read the oath of directors, and I will ask that Ms. Graves repeat the oath of directors after I read it and accept the position. It should be the first one. If you don't mind rotating. Thank you. All right. I do solemnly swear.
I do solemnly.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, do you want me you gonna say the whole sentence and I'll repeat after you or what?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and say the whole thing and then you can just repeat.
Okay.
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Missouri, and that I will faithfully, and impartially discharge the duties of the school director in and for the Hickman Mills C-1 School District, County of Jackson, State of Missouri, to the best of my ability, according to law, so help me God.
So just repeat that.
Yes, ma'am. And state your name.
I'm Carol Graves. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Missouri, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of school director in and for the Hickman Mills C-1 School District, County of Jackson, State of Missouri, to the best of my ability, according to the law. So help me God.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. I apologize. Thank you, Ms. Graves. And congratulations.
Thank you.
Now we will introduce our new member, Ms. Ann Coleman. Mr. Vitale, if you'll bring up hers. Thank you. Give me a moment to find Ms. Coleman on my screen. There we are. All right, Ms. Coleman, if you will repeat after me as well, and congratulations. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Missouri, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of school director in and for the Hickman Mills C-1 School District, County of Jackson, State of Missouri, to the best of my ability, according to law, so help me God.
I, Ann Coleman, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Missouri, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of school director in and for the Hickman Mills C-1 School District, County of Jackson, State of Missouri, to the best of my ability, according to law, so help me God.
Thank you, Ms. Coleman, and congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, from there, I will turn it over to Ms. Carla Johnson.
Good evening, Board of Education. And welcome, Ms. Coleman, and congratulations again, Ms. Graves. At this time, per policy BCA, immediately following the oath of office, the next order of business is to conduct elections for president and vice president. And so I'm going to facilitate the those elections. And then once those are completed, I will turn the floor over to the new president for the election of board treasurer and board secretary. And then this board will also have to appoint your delegate and alternate for MSBA. So at this time, I will open the floor for nominations for the office of president.
This is a,
To nominate Cecil Watry to continue as our current president.
I'd
Are
like
there
to
any other
nominate.
nominations for the office of
Yes,
president?
yes, this is Director Grace. I'd like to nominate Byron Townsend.
So we have 2 nominations at this point. Are there any other nominations for the office of president? Are there any other nominations for the office of president?
I'd like to make a nomination. I'd like to
Okay.
nominate Carol Graves for president.
You kidding? I decline.
Okay, so you're declining the nomination, Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Okay. So at this point, we have 2 nominations on the floor. I'll ask one more time if there are any other nominations for the office of president. Hearing none, I'm going to close nominations for the office of president. At this time, I will go ahead and take nomination. Actually, no. We're going to vote on the office of president according to Robert's Rules of Order. I'll take them in the order that I received the nominations. So at this time, I will ask for votes for Mr. Watry as president of the Hickman Mills Board of Education. And I think we'll do that by roll call. So Ms. Waterman, if you wouldn't mind helping me with that.
Absolutely. Director Graves,
No.
Director Kendrick,
Yes.
Director Carter,
Yes.
Director McGee, you're muted.
Unmute, sir.
Oh, sorry. No.
Director Townsend,
No.
Director Coleman,
No.
and Director Watry.
Aye.
At this point, we have 4 no votes and 3 yes votes for Mr. Watry. I'll now take votes for Mr. Townsend.
We have a lot of background noise. I could not hear what the.
I'm sorry. I said at this point, we have 4 no votes for Mr. Watry and 3 yes votes for Mr. Watry. And I'm now going to take votes for Mr. Townsend. And would ask you again, Ms. Waterman, to do roll call for that.
Absolutely. Director Watry,
No.
Director Carter,
No.
Director McGee,
Yes.
Director Kendrick,
No.
Director Graves,
Yes.
Director Coleman,
Yes.
and Director Townsend.
Yes.
According to my tally, we have 6 votes for Mr. Townsend and 3 no votes for Mr. Townsend. So I'm sorry, 4 yes votes for Mr. Townsend and 3 no votes for Mr. Townsend. And so given that this board has elected Byron Townsend as president.
Congratulations, Mr. Townsend.
Yes, congratulations. Okay, so at this time, I will take nominations for the office of Vice President.
I would like to nominate Duran McGee for Vice President.
Oh, hell no.
What?
I'm sorry, if we can have mute.
Right.
Point of order.
Thank you.
What? Oh my God.
Point of order. President, point of order.
Yes. I would ask everyone to mute their mics if you're not a member of the Board of Education, number one. And unless you're making a motion, I would also still ask the board to mute their mics as well, please. Okay, so I have a nomination on the floor for Duran McGee for Vice President. Are there any other nominations for the office of Vice President?
I would like to nominate Miss Irene Kendricks.
Okay. All right, so I have a nomination for Ms. Kendricks for the office of Vice President. Are there any other nominations for the office of Vice President?
I apologize, Ms. Johnson. Who nominated Director McGee?
I didn't write it down. Board of
Ms.
Education,
Coleman.
tell me who- was it?
Coleman.
Ms. Coleman?
Thank you. Thank you.
Are there any other nominations for the office of Vice President? Hearing none, I will close nominations for the office of Vice President. Again, in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order, I will start with votes for Director McGee for the office of Vice President. And Ms. Waterman, I'd ask you to do roll call for those votes, please.
Absolutely. Director Watry?
No.
Director Carter?
Oops, sorry. No.
Director Townsend?
Yes.
Director Graves?
Yes.
Director Kendrick?
No.
Director Coleman?
Yes.
And Director McGee?
Yes.
So based upon my tally, I have 4 yes votes for Director McGee and 3 no votes for Director McGee. In accordance with the rules, I'm going to call for votes for Director Kendrick as well. And so, Ms. Waterman, if you wouldn't mind.
Absolutely. Director Watry?
No. Oh, sorry. Yes. Excuse me. Yes. I can't vote no all the time. Yes.
Director Carter?
Yes.
Director Townsend?
No.
Director McGee?
No.
Director Coleman?
No.
Director Graves?
No.
Director Kendrick?
Aye. Yes.
Point of order. Can we please retake the vote? We have a camera that wasn't on, and just per our policy, we're just trying to make sure that we're following the rules.
Absolutely. Director Watry?
Yes.
Director Carter? Director Carter? You're neither on camera and you are also muted.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We just can't
I
see
don't
you
know
on
what
camera.
happens. Like can't see myself. Everything went black on my screen. Sorry.
Okay.
Let me figure it out. Sorry.
We'll come back to you. Thank you.
Okay.
Director Graves?
No.
Director Townsend?
No.
Director Coleman?
No.
Director Kendrick?
Yes.
Director McGee?
No.
And Director Carter. I'm not sure if we lost her or not, because I do not see her
She
at
may
all.
have popped back in so she can pop back.
Director Carter.
Has she come back on?
I do not see her.
I don't see her as of yet.
I'm comfortable waiting a couple of minutes to allow her to get back on.
Okay.
And actually cast her vote.
Mr. Vitale, if you would just please look out to admit her back in.
I resent her the link, so hopefully she can get back on.
Mhm.
She says she's waiting to get let in.
Mr. Vitale, are you able to let her in?
Do you see her out there waiting?
There she is.
I'm back. Okay, that was weird. Sorry.
So we're just trying to get your vote for Ms. Kendrick.
Oh, yes. Or
Okay.
I.
Okay. All right, so according to my tally, I've got 4 yes votes for Mr. McGee and 3 no votes. And I have 3 yes votes for Ms. Kendrick and 4 no votes. And so based upon that, I would declare that this board has elected Duran McGee as vice president.
Congratulations, Mr. McGee.
Yes. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
And so per board policy, your next order of business should be to elect your treasurer and your secretary. Those are not required to be members of the board. They can be paid employees. We have historically had Ms. Wiltsey as treasurer and Ms. Waterman as board secretary. So Mr. Townsend, I can turn this over to you to take nominations for your treasurer and secretary position, or if you would like for me to continue and do that, I'm glad to do so.
I'll take over.
Okay, very well. Thank you.
All right. I'd like to open nominations for board treasurer.
I would like to nominate our current treasurer, Mrs. Shelley. Shelley, what's your last name? I'm sorry. Don't see you up there.
Shelley Wiltsey.
Shelley Wiltsey.
Second.
All right. It's been properly moved and second. Oh, was there any more nominations? Any more nominations? Is there any more nominations? Okay, hearing none. It's been properly moved and second for Shelley Wilsey to be the board treasurer. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right. All not in favor, say aye. Hearing none. Ms. Wilsey will be the board treasurer.
Thank you, board.
Right. All right, next order of business, nominating the board secretary.
I'd like to nominate April Waterman.
Second. Second.
Okay, April Waterman's name has been entered into nomination for board secretary. Is there any more nominations? Is there any more nominations?
Move to close nominations.
Hearing no more nominations, I could just correct me if I'm wrong, caller, but can I just move that April is the winner by acclamation?
Sure, you can do that.
Okay, we declare April Waterman board secretary by acclamation. Moving on to 12-2. Oh, but it's not 12-2 anymore. What's the new number? Is it still 12-2?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Board of Education delegate and alternate. I'm going to appoint Carol Graves as the delegate to MSBB and Director McGee as the alternate.
Maybe you need a point of order. I couldn't hear what you said.
I'm gonna appoint.
If
Director McGee as alternate, Carol Graves as delegate.
Or MSBA.
Yes.
President. President.
Yes.
Where do we go from here?
Yes, Director Watcher.
Where do we go from here?
So the only other thing that you need to do in this meeting per policy BCA is establish when your next Board of Education meeting is going to be. And then I would recommend, at that next meeting, if you all confirm when you're going to have your monthly Board of Education meeting. So you'll want to establish at this meeting your next date, time, and location of the next board meeting.
Okay, need a calendar.
April, you do have the calendar from the other dates, the dates that are ready for Mr. Townsend to.
I can try to pull them up. Currently, we do the third Thursday of the month for regular session, and working session is the fourth Thursday of each month.
So let's look at the third Thursday to our next regular meeting. Yes, anyone have conflict with that?
President Townsend, I do have a question, and I don't know if if this meeting is a place to talk about it, but we always, well, usually when we do this, we always ask, does anyone have a question about changing the day of the meeting? So I don't know if you're going to bring that up the next time, or have you just decided that you're going to keep it on Thursday? Okay, all right.
We'll bring it up in our next meeting. We'll put that on the agenda.
Okay.
What was the date that you stated?
That would be May 20th.
Is that what you're looking for, President Townsend, is the actual date, so May 20th for the next meeting? That's all you need to, that's the only requirement right now.
That's
right?
all we need. Yeah, that's all we need right now. Is there any other business that we need?
President Townsend,
Yes.
I would like to move to reconsider a vote on item 9.1 on the agenda.
9.1. It's been moved to reconsidered 9.1. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. It's been moved in second to reconsider 9.1. Is there any discussion?
Excuse me, but 9.1 is part of our accreditation for us governance, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, okay.
So the question before us is, do we want to reconsider 9.1?
I'm sorry, I can't hear. Somebody has a lot of noise in the background. It's very hard for me to hear. Could you repeat that, please?
So the question is, do we want to reconsider 9.1?
Yes.
Why would we be considering it, especially since it's part of our governance and part of our accreditation, obtaining our accreditation?
It's making that noise.
Excuse me, President Townsend, so there's been a motion, so are we in discussion now, or?
We're in discussion.
Okay, so there's been a motion and it's been seconded by someone?
Yes.
Do you have that on record, Mr. Waterman?
I do.
Okay.
Right. My question is, why would we reconsider it, especially since it's part of our obtaining our accreditation and part of board governance?
Well, I think the attorney addressed that when the question was asked. We do have the right to bring something back.
Right.
If we have board approval.
Right. And I'm asking why we will bring it back. What would be the reasoning?
I think we need to take a look at it again.
This is the discussion part. So we're discussing it, correct?
The discussion is whether or not to bring it back for reconsideration.
And the question was, why would we?
Can we just vote on it?
Okay.
If in order to just vote on it, someone have to call the question.
Before someone calls, President,
Yes.
before someone calls the question, what I would like to do is just have this be added into the minutes in regards to my comment. The reason why this
I'm sorry,
policy,
Mr. Watson, I'm having a
Point of
really
order.
hard time.
Point of order.
Yeah, there's somebody that needs to mute.
TV on in the background, and I am having a very hard time hearing.
Yeah.
Point of order. The reason in which the policy was voted on, even by this board, and even the person who rescinded it, in which, understanding the Robert's rules, the person would have to vote would have to vote for that motion in order to rescind it. The only comment that I would have to make is that I would ask that this board consider the reconciliation, the reconsidering of this policy based on the fact that the person who is rescinding it has missed 40% of the last year's board meetings. And
Who are
any
you talking about? Who are you
oh,
talking about?
the person who rescinded it.
But who is that person?
Point of order.
He's talking about me,
Point-
but that's fine. That's neither here nor there. We can just vote on
Point of order. Point of order. President, point of order.
Let's just vote on it.
President, point of order.
I'm sorry, excuse me, I'm gonna leave and try to get back in. My camera went off again, sorry.
Okay. President, point of order. President, can you please acknowledge my point of order? President.
You're on mute.
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Townsend.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I got muted.
Okay. Can you please acknowledge my point of order?
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Watcher.
The point in which I was referring to was the aspect that, and I'm referring to Mr. McGee. Mr. McGee missed 40% of the last meetings of the last year, and we did not complete a calendar year. This also is reflected also not just in our minutes.
At this point,
point of order. Point
at
of
this
order.
point,
Point
you
of
are
order.
out of order.
Point
The
of order.
question be- the
Per
question
policy,
before
per
us-
policy, I have 2 minutes to speak uninterrupted without
but
any
you're-
disruption, but you keep interrupting me and
But
you are out
you're
of order,
out of
President.
order. You're out
Point
of
of order.
order.
Point of
You're-
order.
You're out of order.
I would like to refer to the attorney to ensure that I'm following
Yes.
Robert's rules through procedural action.
Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Townsend.
I'm calling him out of order because he's speaking on other than what the subject matter is. The question in the hand is, do we consider,
Want to reconsider?
reconsider this? That's the question.
I believe I'm making my argument. Am I not making my argument for why we would not rescind this?
It's not being rescinded.
Reconsidered.
Reconsidered. Oh, I'm
Reconsidered.
sorry. Reconsidered. Am I not making an argument for it being reconsidered?
No, the question is, should we reconsider it or not reconsider it?
Yeah.
Then after we decide whether or not to reconsider it, then we go in and we can argue the policy, whether we approve it or not approve it.
Oh, sir, I'm not arguing the policy. I'm arguing the reasons for not I'm arguing the point in which we're debating right now in discussion. So
We shouldn't be debating.
Okay.
So
I agree. We shouldn't be debating because I have 2 minutes to speak based on our policy, but we are.
You are.
A motion to reconsider is debatable. So you can have discussion on whether or not you want to reconsider. I understand Mr. Townsend's point. Mr. Watcher, you can discuss your point when you get to the main motion, but what you're discussing also is about whether or not the motion should be rescinded. So I would recommend, I think it's up to you. If you want to have the conversation now, you can have your 2 minutes now. I wouldn't think that it would be appropriate to have them again on the merits of the motion if you're going to make the same points again. So
I agree. I mean, in this, I could make the merits of this discussion and have additional comment for the for the later. It's understandably so. Acknowledged, Carla. Thank you.
Yeah, so if you make your points now, I would just encourage you not to make the same points again on the main motion.
Thank you for the recommendations. I appreciate it. So making the point here and now, based on the fact that I've already said half of it, I just want to finish my statement, reclaiming my time for at least a minute. So we have, I would hesitate to rescind or even review or recommend or this policy based on the fact that it adheres to the fact that we have board members who have an attendance issue. I'll tell you what, I'll pause and let us vote. And if it comes up again, I'll just talk about it then more extensively.
Okay. Is there any more discussion? Okay, hearing none. Let's take a vote on whether to reconsider 9.1. Mrs. Waterman, could you do a roll call vote for us?
Sure. Director
Thank
Kendrick?
you.
No.
Director Graves?
Yes.
Director Director Watry?
Yes.
Director McGee?
Yes.
Director Coleman?
Yes.
Director Carter?
No.
And Director Townsend?
Yes.
I'm not sure. Director McGee, I'm not sure if I asked you or not.
Yes, you did.
Thank you. It's a vote. I believe that was 2 to 4. Sorry, 5 to 2.
Okay, that's what I have also. Okay, we are reconsidering 9.1.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I would move that we hold further discussion on this item to allow for you to appoint a committee to further look at this issue and allow our new member to have say in this matter. And I'd move that we hold it for 1 month.
Okay, Mr. McGee, let me
Yes.
let me interrupt you. So you all have voted to reconsider a motion. So the next point of order would be to bring that same motion back before the body. So as if it was never voted on before. So you guys are going to have to vote on policy, the policy under 9.1. And if you decide to vote that down, then you can make another motion to do something different. You understand? You got what I'm saying?
That's fine.
So now you've got automatically, by virtue of the action that you just took, your original motion to approve the policy, attendance policy under 9.1 is now on the floor. And it doesn't have to be seconded. It's now here and ready to go. So you guys can just vote on it.
Okay, well, let's just take the vote then, okay.
That's with no discussion, Attorney John, we just go straight to vote?
I think it's okay to have discussion on it. So I suppose if you all want to have discussion on.
No, I'm sorry, I'm just asking for a process so we can move in.
Yeah.
So.
I think it's okay to have discussion. It just doesn't require a second.
Let's go. Is there any discussion?
Plenty. Plenty.
Okay.
Mr. President, I'll just go ahead. Well, being the fact that it has been addressed that board attendance, and this is also a policy in which you helped craft and draft, that we are trying to address, ensure that this district gets accreditation. This policy is to ensure that board governance, we will not ask as I stated before, we will not ask our teachers to leave a meeting or show up to class and then leave after 30 minutes. Or we would not ask for we would not ask our teachers not to be able to show up or say that they're present. We would hold them accountable. And if we are sitting here as board members asking to be, I don't know, held accountable, to vote this for reconsideration, even would say that even your input and your vote that you did already in a committee would be, I don't know, unsubstantiated. So what I'm bringing this up to you for is based on the fact that, as I stated before, not in the previous argument, but in the actual voting of this, that out of all the surrounding districts that touch Hickman, our absence as board members circumferences all combined. You yourself, sir, at 31%, as well as other board members. So if this is to be reconsidered with Mrs. Coleman's input, I would ask that she receives MSBA training before this is being brought back to a vote to ensure that the vote is credible.
Are you done, Mr. Watson?
Mr. President, I would move that we move for the vote, please.
Are you calling the question?
Mr. President.
Yes, I am.
I was going to ask that question if he was calling into question.
Question has been called. Is there any objections?
I'm sorry, I missed that part. I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
The question has been called to take a vote on on whether to on the policy. So, Carla, do I need a second for the call of the question, or is that an automatic?
It does require a second, and it also requires a vote.
Okay. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay. We are now voting on whether to vote on policy, the attendance policy. So everyone understands we're voting on whether to vote on the attendance policy or to have further discussion. Ms. Waterman. Ms. Waterman.
I'm confused. I'm sorry. Okay, would you explain that? We're voting
We're
to have
voting
discussion?
on, we're voting on whether to vote on the policy right now.
Okay, to vote. Okay, so it's either
Or,
yes or no.
yeah.
Okay,
So
all right, I understand.
a yes vote would mean you want to vote on the policy now. A no vote would mean you want further debate.
Okay, yeah, okay, so yes, all right.
Okay, Mrs. Waterman, could you give us a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Director Carter?
I'm sorry. Is this, I think everybody's getting me confused myself. So we're voting on to have a discussion on it later, meaning no, and yes means to let's go ahead and vote on it now.
Correct. Whether to vote on.
We already voted on it, but okay.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out what I'm getting confused.
Can I interject a bit, Mr. Townsend? I think the motion was on the table. There was discussion. A director called the question that they wanted to go and vote. So you're voting to determine you want to continue discussion or go right to voting.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. We can just, oh, yes.
Director Carter?
Yes.
Director McGee?
Yes.
Director Townsend?
Yes.
Director Kendrick?
Yes.
Director Watry?
Yes.
Director Coleman?
Yes.
Point of order.
Yes, 7-0.
Point of order.
Okay. Yes.
Can we take a revote? Now everybody's camera's on.
Sure.
No, was mine on? Okay.
Thank you. I cannot tell if everybody's on. We will do a revote. Please, reminder, please have your camera on. I have to see you on your vote. Director Graves?
Yes.
Director McGee?
Yes.
Director Carter?
Yes.
Director Coleman?
Yes.
Director Townsend?
Yes.
Director Kendrick,
Yes.
and Director Watry.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Vote is yes, 7-0.
Okay. So now it's time to vote on whether to. So we voted to reconsider already, correct? Are we on the vote to reconsider?
No, we voted to reconsider. Now the vote is we've voted to move to call the question,
So
which
now
passed, and now we're voting on the policy.
on the policy.
Correct.
We're voting on policy
9.1.
policy 9.1. Ms. Waterman, can you give me a roll call vote, please?
Roll call vote on voting on policy 9.1. Director Townsend,
No.
Director McGee, Director
No.
McGee,
No.
Director Carter,
Aye, yes.
Director Graves,
No.
Director Kendrick,
Yes.
Director Watry,
Aye.
Director Coleman,
No.
the vote is 4-3. No.
All right.
Mr. President, I would move that we adjourn the meeting.
Is there a second to adjourn the meeting?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
It's
Yes,
before we
Director
close.
Graves.
Yeah, okay. It was just about the graduation and where it's going to be. I just wondered, why did we choose to go to Kansas City, Kansas? I'm just curious. That's an awful long way. Can anybody tell me?
Ms. Graves,
Yes.
technically you're out of order. It's not on the agenda, but it'll be
It's not on the
noted.
agenda. Oh, okay.
Discussing
All right.
adjournment?
Okay.
Mr.
thought-
President,
Great. Send me a question directly and I can communicate with you.
Okay.
Mr. President,
I
do we
will.
have to adjourn? Do we have to motion for adjournment, or can we just adjourn during the fact that it's an open session?
We can adjourn. If no one.
No, we have to take a motion to adjourn. And I have a motion on the floor. I need a second.
Second.
All right, is there anyone in favor of not adjourning? Hearing none, meeting's adjourned.
We're not gonna vote? I'll leave it alone. I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna leave it alone.
Yeah.
I'll see y'all next time.